Colton Hill here with Coltonhillfishing. I'm going to do a tournament recap on the Major League Fishing College Series event on Sam Rayburn Reservoir. First off, coming into practice, we are expecting either brush piles or hard spots offshore, or maybe even the grass will play a big factor in either doing well or even potentially winning this tournament. Especially the brush piles, because they're known for having that higher than average size fish, better quality fish, but being late in the summer, they've been pressured for the whole summer. A lot of anglers target brush piles, which makes it really difficult to catch these fish and even trick them into biting. On top of that, just large fish in general are hard to trick into biting. So starting with practice, the first 2 days we focused on finding brush piles or offshore structure that we thought these big fish would be holding to or near. And we found a couple hard spots in practice, but they just had smaller fish, smaller caliber fish, somewhere between 2 and 3 pounders. And they didn't really have very big ones on them. We did find a couple brush piles that had some larger quality fish, but we really couldn't get them to bite easily. So it was definitely a struggle there. So the last 2 days of practice, we put all our efforts into fishing the grass. We threw a frog, we punched, we threw a bladed jig, and even drug the weed lines with like a 10-inch worm or a Picasso Lures football jig. So towards the end of the first day, we kind of got on a little punch and bite. We were catching fish that were 3+ pounders, and we felt pretty confident with that. If we could have 15 to 18 pounds tournament day, I thought that would be a really good bag, and turns out it was. But and then we got on a little bit of a bladed jig bite in the morning on the second day of practice that we focused on the grass. And I think we had a limit in like 6 casts in the first pocket we pulled in, but they weren't real big. They were just 2 pounders. But we knew that once the sun got high and they got pulled up under those mats, we could potentially catch 3+ pound fish. And that was the goal coming into the tournament. So we finished 69th out of 180 boats. And I'll show you the 2 main setups that I used in the tournament. The first one was the 7.3 heavy Kistler Chungus rod. This is the Alton Jones series rod, specifically made for chatterbaits. Great for fishing around thick, heavy cover, especially that hydrilla that grows on Sam Rayburn. What I was throwing was a 3/8 ounce Picasso Lures Shock Blade Pro. I was pairing that up with a Bojangle Z-Daddy in Violet Pearl, trying to match those shad that were kind of schooled up in these pockets and in these grass mats. I was throwing that on a 7-speed reel with 16 pound Sunline FC Sniper. My second setup was a 7.6 heavy Kistler Z-Bone rod, 8.3-to-1 reel, 50 pound Sunline X Plasma braid, and I was using an 1.5 ounce Picasso Lures tungsten weight, flipping weight, with a 4/0 hook, flipping hook, and the Bojangles Nos Craw in black and blue. And we weighed 3 fish punching and 1 fish on the shock blade for 8 pounds, 8 ounces. The bite got super tough on tournament day. The conditions didn't really change, but something happened with the fish where they weren't biting as good as they had been. And even a lot of the guys that I had been fishing around said the same thing. But it was hard to get a bite. And if one more bite, that just moves you up so much more, catching a limit. There was over 50 boats that had blanked on Sam Rayburn, which isn't typical there. But it is the summer to fall transition period where the bite can be extraordinarily tough. And those fish are very inconsistent. One day you could go offshore and absolutely wreck them. The next day you might not catch anything. And the same for the grass. You can go up there and catch them and the quality's there. And the next day you go there, you're catching 12 inchers and 14 inchers and you can't find the 3 to 5 pound fish. So in this tournament, a big takeaway is decision making. On tournament day, we decided we were going to start on an offshore spot in the morning. Hindsight 2020, probably should have started in the grass. There's a chatterbait bite in the morning for a couple hours, and then there'll be a 2-hour lull while those fish were transitioning from the grass line underneath the mats to where you could catch them punching. And then once that sun got high, that punching bite kicked up, and you could really catch them that way. Halfway into the tournament, a front kind of moved through and was blowing about 30-mile-an-hour gust and kind of made it hard to move around. So we didn't get to hit all the places we wanted to hit punching. So we kind of had to focus in one area. And that's where we caught all 4 of our keepers, was one little grass stretch. We caught, like I said earlier, 3 of them punching and 1 on a bladed jig. We caught that 1 on the bladed jig early, but I think if we got there a little bit earlier, we potentially could have caught more fish on a bladed jig. And then focus more on punching as the sun got higher throughout the day, and not so much worried about those offshore fish, which were really difficult to catch. So this is Colton Hill, and this is the tournament recap for Sam Rayburn Reservoir MLF College Series.